All right, here we go. We are back on the Pure Athlete Podcast. We are talking about reputations today.
Hey.
A little bit of a special episode here. I am with the athletic trainer herself, Erin Ruggieri. I am Dr. Dustin Boston. Super excited for this episode.
Yeah.
We've introed a little bit. We've got a few under our belt this is, again, our second podcast we're rolling here. But make sure you subscribe, like all things The Pure Athlete. We've got a lot of cool things coming out. But we will drop some links in, share this out, let us know, give us some feedback, drop some comments, give us a little hate mail. That's fine too. We're here to learn, but we are also always going to be taking the content that we have here on the Pure Athlete Podcast back to mental, physical relationships for student athletes and their parents, trying to keep up, really bridging the gap with information on who do I trust, where do we go.
Yeah.
So here we go, another episode. We are going to talk a little more of where we came from, why we do what we do, why this came about. Now, we've introed ourselves a little bit, but we want to give a little more of an understanding of why. What is the mission? Why are we so passionate about this? And maybe even discuss some of our experiences that hit home with us that either we've worked on, still working on potentially, resources that we've had and used and who we take care of, and link some real-time clinical data to what we do and see every day with a lot of the student athletes that we see in practice. So with that being said, it sounds like our producer, Sam, is going to very efficiently lead us with her questions, topics, and conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll all interrupt each other plenty, but let's give you a little insight on why we do what we do. Sam, hit us. Number one.
All right, so I want to start off with getting to know you guys a little bit. Give us and the listeners a little bit about your personal journey with athletics first.
Ladies first.
All right.
I'm just going to lean back. Fat Joe. Just lean back.
Get out of here. Okay, so I grew up in Fenton, Missouri. It's 141 and 44 in our little state
For
of
all those
Missouri.
listening in Connecticut, you'll know exactly where that's at.
Yeah, it's by the Starbucks on 141 and 44. I went to a high school called Rockwood Summit High School. I danced there. That's my first place I actually joined dance team. I had been dancing at a studio since I was 2, though, before that. But being in high school opened me up to the wonderful world of dance team at school. So I did that for 4 years. I was captain for 2. We went to nationals. I mean, we were never really, top
Of course
5.
they did. You were on their team.
We never, went top 5 or anything like that in national, but we were more just there for the experience. We would make finals. We were decent. And then state, we were usually, second in our division, but that was my high school. And then from there, I actually was supposed to go to a D1 school, D1A at NDA, Louisville, University of Louisville. And
That's how they say it. Where
yes,
Louisville.
they do. And then about May-ish, I switched, and I ended up at Lindenwood University in St. Charles, Missouri. I was not on the dance team my freshman year. I danced in the dance department. So people who study dance as their education, I took that as a minor so I could still dance my freshman year. And then I tried out for Lindenwood my freshman end of the year. So then I was on the Lindenwood Lionettes, who go to NDA Nationals in Daytona. For my sophomore year all the way to my senior year. I graduated there in 2022. While I was on the team, we won 3. So my sophomore year was actually the year that COVID shut everything down. Nationals got canceled. We got sent home. So we didn't go to nationals that year. My junior year, we double titled. My senior year, we won Jazz. Then I graduated. And then let me go back a little bit. While I was on Lionettes, I coached Francis Howell Middle School dance team for 3 years. And I choreographed for local teams in the area. And then after I graduated, I coached middle school again. And then I also started coaching the team that I was on. So I coached Lindenwood Lionettes and Lindenwood Lion Line and Lindenwood Golden Line, the whole gang, for a year then. And then now I coach at Francis Howell still, but I coach the JV. We do workouts. I do the workouts and all the conditioning stuff for the whole program. And I still have teams using my workouts and stuff.
2 clean sweeps already here in 2023.
Yeah. So, it's my personal journey, I guess.
That was good. I love it. It gives you a lot of, one, credibility and authority in what you do, experience, talent, obviously, that you can be able to hand down. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Raw experience.
Yeah. You?
Well, so if there's a scoreboard, I played it.
Yep.
It was kind of, I grew up in Cuba, Missouri. I 100% claim Cuba, Missouri. So the funny thing about that is I was actually born in LA. So I was born in Tarzana, California, lived there till I was 7. A lot of people know the earthquake in '94. I was in that. And so I then moved. I was 7 years old, and I moved to Cuba, Missouri. So what, 3.5 million to 3,500 or so. And baseball, basketball, football, hockey, racing. Dad was in racing. I'm still in racing. And so if there's a scoreboard or competition, chances are I played as much of it as I could. The bummer about the hockey, I played hockey out in LA, and they didn't have it in Cuba, Missouri yet, and it was a way to travel. But I wish I could have played hockey, continue to play hockey, and then soccer was one I didn't get to play much of. I love the game of soccer, watching the game of soccer itself. But that's really my initial sports. As we went into high school, it was 3 different baseball teams. It was basketball and football. And I was more of a baseball guy. Baseball and football were my outs. That was my opportunity to play D1. And I actually had a scholarship to Wisconsin, wide receiver in Wisconsin. Didn't entertain that offer, just wanted to play baseball.
Yeah.
So that was my big deal. But my junior year of high school, I had an injury and really almost devastatingly crushed L4, L5 discs in my back, and that was my entry into what I do today.
Yeah.
But that was also almost took away a baseball opportunity after high school. So ended up playing some fall ball down in Florida for a little while, and as the story goes, I turned an opportunity down. Dad cried. I became a chiropractor. I say that. My dad was awesome. I just say that as a joke.
Yeah.
So if my dad's watching this, I'm just making it funny, okay? But there was definitely some trials and tribulations along with my career, but that's why I want to speak on what we want to speak on today from, mental, physical, and relationships. I truly believe I could have gotten farther faster or had more opportunities had I had known how to curate relationships better. But also, the health side, how to take care of myself. So a lot of that stems from my original career in multiple different sports.
Yeah. Love it.
So, Dustin, this question is for you. How did the idea of the Pure Athlete come about? How'd you come up with that?
Yeah, so that was, kind of like I just said, it was the experience that I had. I didn't know the Pure Athlete was going to be something until probably about 5-ish years ago. So I was really thinking, what did my parents wish they would have had for me when I was going through high school, or as the cream started to rise, essentially, and what resources would they wish I had had from a training perspective, from a health perspective. So it was about 5 years ago. I mean, that 2019-ish, 2018-ish, I was done with my doctorate. I was already in practice, and great big family practice. Love it. Still have it to this day. And then I was like, you know what? They all have kids that are athletes, and I'm super passionate about that.
Yeah.
And the lifestyle we live. How do I get student athletes to think about the lifestyle we live from just that, from a lifestyle, not an injury perspective? So that was the beginning of, okay, how do I serve student athletes better? And that's when, too, it's like, what would I want to give them if I could? And it was mental, physical, and relationships. And some of the trials and tribulations that I went through, whether it was injuries, relationships on the team, coaches, teachers, the mental aspect, like how do I deal with it when I don't play well, if I'm injured and can't play. Also the girls, and girls go through this with guys. It's like the relationship, girlfriend broke up with me, or there's a girl I'm chasing, that all has an effect, and that's life. You should go through that.
Yeah.
But how do we manage that and handle that? So it was a lot of different things that came for the Pure Athlete, but it was really wrapped around 3 things, and it was mental, physical, and relationships, and that's what we're building on today.
Yeah.
From all different perspectives.
I love that.
Did that answer the question?
Yes, thank you, actually.
You passed.
Yeah,
Okay.
pass. So speaking of these...
It's like a board exam.
I know.
I don't know. I don't even know what's coming until I turn the page.
Don't remind me of the board exam.
I'm watching. I'm timing you, actually. So you were talking about the 3 pillars of the of the pure athlete, and one of them being mental. And why is the mental health of student athletes and just athletes in general such a big part of what we're doing here?
Well, very boldly, I'm gonna switch and say my bold statement I say all the time on the mental side of things. We're all meant to be somebody. We need to be the best versions of ourselves all the time, or be coached in how to do that. But also, too, I'm sick of seeing athletes struggle with themselves, how they speak to themselves, how they let themselves be treated, or how they treat others. But also, too, I'm sick of them saying, or being depressed, having anxiety, not knowing what to do, either anger issues, all kinds of those things. But I'm really sick of them overdosing and jumping out windows, because we're seeing more and more of that. I have a story with that as well. I think we all might have a little bit of that dark side a little bit. How you deal with it is what matters. But I just want to be able to give. I could show you my text messages right now from I was going to get my hair cut. I saw somebody on their feed, do not look at social media and drive. I'm just going to say my phone alerted me that somebody posted something, but it was something like, I wish I could just disappear, was the statement on a status on Facebook, and I messaged them. And I know who they are. They were just a student athlete. And this is the the mental side of things is so important, because they don't know where to go. They don't know who to trust. They don't know who to talk to. Their parents might not even get a glimpse of it. So how can we teach the parents to look at this, notice some of these things? But also, if other athletes or parents or people in that circle see somebody else say something like that, how do we handle it, and what's available, and how do we navigate that conversation? So I just want them to be better. I want them to know their worth outside of the lines, out from underneath the jersey, and or costume, and really know that they have resources, or they can talk about it. And it's not like, oh, it's okay, you can talk. No, it's like, you can talk about it. You're allowed to, you should, and we'll find you the resource for it. So
and also, like, the mental aspect of it doesn't just affect your sport or whatever you're doing. It also affects, like, you in the classroom, 100%. You with your family. And so, like, for college athletes, for myself, when I was having mental issues in college, like, your parents aren't there. Right. And so you kind of have to lean on, like, your people in your classes or your teammates, but your teammates are also going through the same thing. And then, so, like, I was lucky enough to have 2 really good professors who, like, understood, like, they were like, oh, like, you're, like, need some extra love today. And, like, you're blessed to have that, but not everyone has that. So that's what we're doing.
So today, at the time of this recording, we are currently 2:05 Central Time. What time is this message?
Right now?
What time does the message say it came in?
The first one?
Yep.
12:26.
12:26. 2 hours ago. Here is what I said. I can't make this up. Keep your head up. You have an impact to make. There are people that need you that you haven't met yet. Find purpose, give more, create impact. Don't know how? Ask. If you need help, call me. Put my number in there, and sent it. So, it's stuff like that. That stuff matters.
Yeah.
Speaking of mental health, like, Dustin, I know you talked about having an injury really early in your career. Take us back to that time. Tell us kind of what was going through your. I know. I think
shit.
I think it's really important for all of the student athletes out there to hear from somebody like you and how important it is for that mental health side of things.
It was insult to injury. I'm sure there's tape on it somewhere. It would have been fall of 2002. Last play of the half, and we were at home. It was a home game. It might have been the second game of the year, our first home game. Insult to injury. We had 88 yards. They lined me up as a tight end. I was a wide receiver. They lined me up as tight end, some trick play. If it worked, great. And I just ran a seam down the hash. Little bend to the post, and here I look up, and here comes the ball. Catch the ball, take off. I made it, 86 yards out of the 88. Was horse-collared from behind, brought to my knees, crushed L405 discs in my back, numbness and tingling down the legs, started having headaches. Literally, I remember, I remember the pylon sitting right next to me, and the only thing I could think of was, no fucking way. And then I felt what happened. One, I was like, touchdown first. I was like, okay. And then I felt what happened, and I really couldn't move. Like, it was pretty excruciating. And then all I could think of as I was going through doctor appointments the next day, like I slept sitting up on the couch, and doctor's appointments, and it was muscle relaxers, steroid injections, surgery were all on the table for what was about to happen. Didn't have any injections. I just was like, is there another option? Well, if we don't do this now, and my mom's sitting there looking at me. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't want to be the kid in the movie where it all just gets taken away. And that was really the reality of it. That was my entry into chiropractic, which is what I do today, but all from a functional, neurological, and structural standpoint.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily because of the injury I went in and sought out that treatment. It was because of the functional deficit. It was because of the symptomatology that I was experiencing, not because, I rolled my ankle, I need to, it wasn't a reaction to, it was just an unfortunate situation that was brought on by an injury. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that was what I was thinking. But at that time too, I knew, I was like, if I don't go on to play professional sports, I'm going to become a chiropractor. 17 years old, I knew. Piece of cake.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that story. Like that's one of the cool, like knowing you as a person, that's one of the coolest things like that could have happened. Not being injured, but having that knowledge of what you were going to do if professional sports didn't work out.
In that scenario alone was, looking back on that, like still to this day, there's a few things that really tie me to what I do today and what drives me to do what I do today. And it's from my own experiences and how I handled them. But it's like, that could have looked a lot differently. Like some people, and no kudos to me because I'm the first, I don't like hard shit. I'll do hard stuff, but I prefer not to. But it's like a lot of people could have and maybe would have just been like, that's it, it's over.
Yeah.
And to come through that, and it's like, how can I inspire other kids to do that? And what resources did I have that they need, and where can I fill the gap?
Aaron, I want to jump to you, knowing a little bit of your story. I think it's really, really important.
It's called leap.
It is.
It's a leap.
It's a leap. Aaron, I want to leap over to you. Especially since you are such a strong presence in dance and you are such a strong woman. I want to know, like, what was your experience? I know a little bit of your story, having been injured in dance in college and working through that, dancing through injury. What was your mental aspect like during that? How did that impact your college career?
Yeah, on my team that I was on, we really didn't have any resources when it came to physical health, mental health. Yes, the university has trainers and they have counselors, but were they at our practice? Not once. And administration knew that. So we were kind of left to like fend on our own. When it came to that, we would come to practice and practice for 48 hours in a weekend. And then we were prepared to go to school on Monday and ace tests. And that's kind of like the expectation of it was. And that expectation that we always had being put on us, not even by only coaches, but by ourselves too, was that like, if we don't win, like the whole season's a failure. And so the whole season, like you're from July until March or like May, your only goal is to win. And so by the time that we go to nationals in April, by the time you're there, you already have it in your head of like, if we don't win, everything that I just did doesn't matter. And so like I am 99.9% sure I tore my labrum at nationals my senior year. My friends, multiple concussions all through the year. Did they take time off? No. Did they tell anyone? No. And that's just kind of how the game worked. My best friend got a concussion in the parking lot our junior year. Didn't tell anyone until after nationals. She was puking. But no one knew. So that was the expectation there.
Is that what inspired you to become an athletic trainer? Was to be with those teams that don't.
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah,
because you didn't originally
No,
go
I didn't.
to.
I know
be an athletic
you wanted to go to
trainer.
PT school.
Yeah. So whenever I was 16, I lost my father to a brain injury. We don't have to get into that. But whenever we were in the hospital that whole summer, I was with the like PTs and all of that. And my original plan was I wanted to do PT like in like brain rehab, like Mercy rehab kind of setting. That's what I always sought out to do. That's what I told everyone I was going to do. And then I went to my freshman year at Lindenwood, my first day. I was talking to the professor, like the head of the AT program. They have like a welcome to school, like this is the health science building. And originally I exercise science major because I was like, that's the path to go. And they were like, so you're going to be spending all this time in a lab. This degree's all about research. And I was like, get me out of here. I was like, I hate labs. No, that's not happening. And
come on. They weren't that bad.
No, thank you. And so I switched my major to athletic training because in my head at first, I was like, okay, I can get this, I can work with that, and I can go get my doctorate in PT afterwards. But then I just fell in love with being like the first point of contact. Like you say, I'm a very strong personality, a very strong woman, if you will. So the idea of like being the first contact on the field or in a clinic, I didn't like the whole fact of you would just send people to me and it was my job to fix them and send them back to you. It wasn't really a give and take in there for me. And that's why I switched to athletic training. Yeah, that's how we are. Here we are, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. And the work.
Weren't you gonna like double? Didn't you declare dance as a major?
Yeah, I declared.
She just wanted to dance in
Yeah.
ensemble.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I declared dance as a minor so I could dance in the concerts. And then when life got a little too busy and I couldn't do all the classes on top of the labs that I didn't want to do and all the anatomy and chemistry, I was like, okay, fine, I guess I'll drop it. But still listed until my senior year, I was a dance minor.
That's a good thing to note though, because that's how you. I always reference the Kobe quote because I'm not one to make excuses, but it's like, it's like, well, I can't dance in college. It's like that sounds like excuses to me.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe you weren't ready to give up the more dance, we call it dance program, right? Versus the competitive dance, and maybe you still wanted to have like the ensemble, the dress rehearsal, that experience. And it's like, well, I'm just gonna declare it as a minor. That's called figuring it out to get what you want for all the right reasons, instead of just saying, well, if I'm gonna do this, I'm not gonna have time. Well, then just figure it out.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. Like everyone has shit happen to them in life, but it doesn't matter. It on paper, it doesn't ever matter. So like to my fault, I like take whatever's happening or has happened like in my personal life and it's kind of gone. And like it really doesn't matter. And like, for example, I left Louisville's tryouts being told I needed to dye my hair, lose weight, got in the car and applied to Lindenwood on my hotspot on my laptop. And that I was like, okay, fine. If they don't want me, then like your loss.
It was literally their loss.
And so
100%. 100%.
So literally on the way home, I applied to Lindenwood. The next day, I not skip school, you get it excused, okay, for college visits, and went to Lindenwood, and I was like, okay, cool. I met with Miss Jan, and I was like, I'm taking your advanced contemporary class. She's like, oh, you have to audition for that. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm taking your advanced contemporary and your advanced tap class. She's like, okay. Yeah. That's where I was the only freshman in advanced contemporary because I just told myself I was going to be in it, and they accepted it. So just got to figure it out.
I have a feeling we're going to jump off the mental health side, but I'm going to bring something up real quick and touch on that Erin wanted to blow past. And maybe you get to know us, you'll probably hear some of these stories more. But when we talk about the mental health side of things, we have gone through it as an athlete, as a son and daughter, as a best friend. Your story, losing your dad. I don't think there's a lot of people that can't imagine what that's like, myself included right now. My mom knows this. We talk about this all the time, but there's times when my mom feels this way about herself too, but my mom was in a very bad car accident on the way to work. She was upside down in her Jeep Grand Cherokee for 2 hours by herself and was airlifted. And then that day, I feel like I lost my mom. I mean, there's a lot of things that just aren't the same, and she knows that. But how that affects our outcomes, it's like we tend to use that as a driver.
Yeah.
We are very outwardly using that as a driver. But for a long time, I think we would both agree, we also used that driving to also mask what we were afraid to deal with.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we were so driven at what we wanted to do. That was our power. That was our, not even our reason or our why. It was just like, that's what they were proud of us for. And that's what they loved to watch us do. So we just did more of it because we didn't know how to handle the rest of it yet.
Yeah.
And there's still times like we still go through it. I mean, the holidays aren't always easy. There's, and there's scenarios where a lot of athletes may have their own scenarios that they don't know how to deal with it, and that's okay. You're not supposed to. That's why we're doing this. We've gone through it, and if we don't have the capability or the answers for it, we know how to find it.
Yeah, and cool story kind of about that I kind of forget about a lot is my dad growing up always told me I was going to go to Lindenwood, and I was in denial. And I was like, I am not going to Lindenwood. It is 45 minutes from our front door. Like, it's not happening. And he's like, no, you're going to dance at Lindenwood. Like, I see it. I just know you're going to. And then so whenever everything kind of like pivoted so fast, like in May of my senior year, I was like, okay, you were right. Like, this is annoying. But like at that point, like he wasn't here anymore. So I was like, fine, like you were right. Like, give it up. But like, yeah. And I mean, there are things that everyone goes through, but like that's why I think dove more into like dance and like never giving up dance is because like that's what I had all growing up. It's what he worked 3 jobs for me to have, cleaned our studio, like did everything so that I could dance. So in my head I was like, okay, like that was all for a reason. Like everything happens for a reason, you just don't know why.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, yes, like awful things and tragic things happen, but like that also made me like grow up faster and made me mature. And it's like why I also like love people the way I do and why I get so protective over people. And the way that I lead is because I care about people in that capacity that you don't realize until something's taken away from you.
Yeah.
And I tell like my senior year, I told the team that I was captain of that too. I was like, listen, like I know I come off as like so strong and like I care too much, but like this is why. Like this is why my leadership quality is protection and like people don't mess with my people, and that's why.
Yeah, you don't get how quickly it all goes away.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well,
There you go.
almost in tears over here. So I do want to touch on one more aspect of mental health and pressure.
Let's do it.
So both of you were
My favorite. Put me at the plate. More
Oh,
pressure.
I love
put me at the
pressure.
plate.
I love
Yeah.
training pressure. Let's go.
well, I am talking about pressure on you.
Okay.
So you were both D1 level athletes. You had offers to D1 schools. As someone who went to a D1 school but did not play anything but intramural sports, give us an insight kind of the pressure of being, how did that affect, you know, how you moved forward in life after not taking either of those situations, those opportunities that you were given?
Yeah, I mean, okay.
I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So, at Lindenwood, still a D2 school. Obviously, there's still a lot of pressure when it comes to performing at games and whatever. But like the real pressure would come at nationals. So for those of you who don't know, a lot of dance teams work all year long for 2 minutes. Those 2 minutes are maybe going to turn into 4, but it's you
don't get a best of 7.
No. You cheered everyone else's games. You danced at everyone else's sport. You go to everyone else's community events for then most likely no one to come to your nationals. And like, yes, that sucks, but at the same time, like, okay, you're not gonna like make or break my performance because the school and the football team's not watching me.
Yeah.
But no one really realizes the amount of time and effort that dance teams put in and cheer teams too to support everyone else, and all they're asking for is 2 minutes of support. So like the pressure on that, you like I just said, you're working from July until your nationals for 2 minutes. Those 2 minutes, people always say it's about muscle memory. It's really just about staying present.
Muscles don't
I was
have
gonna say, I was
brains.
waiting. Muscles don't have memory. They don't have brains.
I have a question to follow
So
that
Lord
up when
respect.
you're finished.
Yeah. What was I saying? So those 2 minutes, like, it's not about your muscle memory, number one. It's about the preparation that took you to get there. I always tell my teams, like, when we're at competition, I said it last weekend, like, these moments are the icing on the cake. The hardest part and the cupcake of the cake is the practices. So all this is you're just doing what you already do in practice and you're reproducing it with a nice costume on and you don't look as ratchet as usual. Like that's the only difference. So I think the teams that go and crack under pressure, it's because they take this high stakes environment and they put it on themselves. They have to perform better. No, you don't. Your better already happened in your gym at home. It already happened in...
Or it should have.
Yes. And if it didn't, then it's okay because it's not going to happen right now. It's not fair to yourself. It's not fair to your team. It's not fair to your school to put on the pressure when it's like, oh, my God, it's nationals. I have to dance differently. You don't. Because in reality, we were talking about this earlier. I was educating Sam on Dance Team World. She asked me, are you going to ask me it?
I am going to ask you that, Erin. So, do you black out during performances? And Dustin, I want to know, like in high stakes situations, I know you took a team to the World Series.
Yeah.
And you have 6 national championships under your belt. Like, do you black? Because I know as a performer, like I did theater for years and choir, and I know that subconsciously my body was like, sing the notes, be in the spot, do the thing. And I want to know, like, if that's kind of how you guys felt as coaches and as, you know, performers.
Yeah, I personally like I never had to think like, if my body gonna do the right thing. My body did what it knew how to do, but like your mind the whole time is like, okay, do this, don't forget this. Oh, I hope that person's doing okay. Oh, look, there's my friend Tyler in the stands. Like that's just how like it kind of went. But I also know other performers and people, they go on stage and they're like, I don't remember anything that happened. And that's what we always try to go not to happen, is because when you're not being present, we call it, we're like, okay, be present. It's because like then you don't make those genuine relationships on people like on the floor. You're not connecting with the judges. You're not connecting with the people. You might do something that is in your muscle memory that we just changed 2 hours ago when you're not present.
Here's what I love about dance and cheer and even like gymnastics is no, they're not very highly populated attendance sports. Like you said, I mean, you travel from Lindenwood, you travel from Missouri to Daytona, you might have your parent group there, but you don't have the school. You don't have people filling the stands with 20, 30,000 people like you see at some of these football and basketball games. But what I love about that, and this is a deep conversation for another time, I just want to put it out there, is it really makes you value your team and the people that are on it, because we should more focus on performing for each other. It's like, oh, we do it for the team, and this person played. No. You have to own that and perform for your team, because if you're always looking for the approval to put on a show for 30,000 people, what are you really doing it for? So that's what I love about that. And the more that, I think a lot of dancers need to know that.
Yeah.
I think they have no idea or don't even have that perspective. And also vice versa. The basketball, baseball, football, the prime sports that have 30,000 people. It's like, oh, you want to, show off and show out and do your dance on a touchdown and stuff like that, because you're putting on a show for them. Why don't you go put on a show with your team before you go? And that's what I love about dance world. So
we always say, like, you have to create your own energy, and not only does that like have to do with sports and performances, but like that's also has to do with life. Like you have to create your own vibe, your own energy. And I think that's why a lot of dancers graduate and they struggle the first year out of college, because they're not used to not having a team.
Right.
And so it goes both ways. Like you're creating your own environment, your own energy with, I don't know, maybe 20 people and a couple coaches, but then you have to almost continue that and know how to do it on your own whenever you're done with sport.
Yes.
I love listening. I could listen to you guys talk all day. Like, I love sitting in this room and listening to you guys. I really do. Let's see.
You want me to go my perspective?
Yes, I do.
I'll keep mine short because I am a little different in that regard. That I had a good friend. I'm gonna lead with a story of a good friend of mine. His name is Brady Tierney. We had a great baseball team. We were that team that was like from second grade all the way through. Like we were together. We won a state title and stuff. But Brady would always remember everything. He's like, remember we played this guy last time? He went 2 for 3, hit one up the middle. We struck him out once. And I was a catcher.
Yeah.
I freaking love that position. I was always involved, but you would think that I would remember every single thing.
Right.
And I didn't. It's like almost I was like too present. And so Brady would just go off, and I'm like, no, bro, I don't. But even when it came down to crunch time, I did have the mindset that nobody better. Let me up there. Like, let me hit, let me throw them out, let me, pick them off. Like, what do you need? I will do it.
Right.
The more pressure, the better. Put me at the free throw line. Like,
Same.
Was I maybe the most talented all the time? No, probably not.
Yeah.
But the mental aspect was put me at the plate. You need a double, you need a single, you need a dinger. What do we need?
Right.
Like, I loved that position. There wasn't many things. Sometimes it got me in trouble a little bit too, because it's not that I wanted to do too much or always be the one that made it happen. But with that mindset too, is it's like, man, that runner on first got a big lead. I'm just going to snap him off. And then you throw it in the outfield. And it's like, man, or the first baseman wasn't ready for it. But when it came to crunch time, I can't say I blacked out. I was very present. Now, I was very tunnel visioned. Like, I can't hear anything during a game. Like, there was one time my mom was yelling in the stands. The umpire was horrible. And I finally had to turn around. Because if you can break my ear while I'm playing, I turned around. I was like, Mom, we got to stop. we got to be done here. But I never heard anything. I was like so tunnel visioned. Like, I was here. So I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad thing, but I was always very tunnel vision, but couldn't really remember much. I could watch film and be like, oh yeah, great. But it was like new out, new count, new out. Keep going. Job's not finished yet. It's like, don't get too far ahead of yourself, but also don't get too caught up in the past. The rear view's small for a reason. Look out the windshield. Deal with now. Learn from before, but deal with now. And then the now is going to come before, and now you have more data for the new now.
Yeah.
So does that make sense? That's kind of how I always thought of it.
Yeah, I love that. And this goes into my next question. I have a few more for you. You are both coaches in different respects. How does the experiences that you have had in your life with sports and in life in general impact the way that you coach?
Yeah, I think the first one I kind of already touched on is I'm very protective over what team I'm on, who the girls on that team, the families of that team, the program as a whole. Like, it takes one person to say like, oh, I didn't think that was very good, for me to put my defense mechanism up. Don't talk about them like that.
Yeah.
Those are my people. And so I think that one's the main one. And then just like also the way that like I was coached from birth on, like kind of shows you what maybe you do want to adopt as your coaching style, what you don't want to adopt. Like, I'm never going to tell my girls that they can't eat QT pizza. That's not going to happen. Yeah. I will tell them that it's okay to be a real human and cry at practice if you had a bad day. Like, I'm not the person to say leave your emotions at the door, because you're a person. It's going to affect how they're practicing that day. And so you have to open it with welcome arms, and like, yes, yourself as a coach, it's your job to walk in and act like nothing happened, and you are there, but it's not theirs.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's and on that same aspect too, the last thing we both do too is let them use it as a crutch.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a repeat offender and it's like, okay, now we've got a bigger deal. Like, if my thing is if you're going to continue to use a crutch, that means there's a source.
Yeah.
So let's fix the source, because the symptom is you're still using a crutch.
Yeah.
So it's like, I hear you. If you need the day, you need a time, vent it out, great. I don't expect you to shut it off and pretend like it didn't happen. But if it's a repeat offending thing, it's like, well, then I always stepped in, and whether it's before or after practice, and it's not like, hey, you need to change your attitude.
Right.
Like, no, it's like, hey, I know I did this with one of our team members last night and recognized it and called it out and was like, I see you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Let's go.
Right.
And, you just handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much. I mean, I don't know. We can stop it right there. Yeah. There's just a lot.
I want to jump into the clinical side now. I know that it's a little bit not even a little bit. It is rare to see chiropractors and athletic trainers work together.
Let's go.
And I know that there are misconceptions in both of your lines of work.
This is all a facade. This is just fake. We just do this for...
We're going to go fight after this.
Yeah. They actually hate each other, you guys. It's a little bit awkward in here right now. And I know that there are misconceptions about chiropractic and about athletic training. And if there are any of those that come to the top of your head currently that you want to address, I would love to hear them, because I know you're both very passionate about what you do and why you do it.
Anymore, I'll be super honest, I ain't trying to address shit in chiropractic. Honestly, what am I trying to do in chiropractic? I'm trying to change the stereotype of the shit that people want me to talk about with chiropractic. Because here's the thing. No matter who you are, if you're not in the profession, and even if you are, like, your bias is your bias. Like, you've already made your decision of what that's going to look like. I can't change your worldview or your decision of how you're going to perceive that if you believe in it or not. Well, it's like gravity. It works whether you believe it or not. So let's just get past that.
That was such a dad joke.
Well, I mean, but it's true. I've said that a lot of times. Like, well, I don't know if I believe in chiropractics. It's like, you don't have to. Yeah. So do you believe in gravity? Well, it's working. That's all I need to hear. Like, it works whether you believe it or not. That's fine. I just want to change the stereotype of what it is for. So if you're willing to open your mind and take your worldview and have it changed a little bit, then great. That's what I'm here to do. But if a lot of people have already made their decision that it doesn't work, blah, 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 whatever the stereotype is, cool, I'm not the right fit for you. Because it is about function. It's about performance. It's about a lifestyle that everybody wants. Does anybody want to live less? No, they want to have a long-lasting life, a quality life, and we're only getting sicker. We take more medication across as a nation than the whole world does put together. And it's like, as soon as we start looking at those things, in our kids, the average kid is on 3 to 5 medications by the age of 8. Yeah. It's like, as soon as, in these athletes, even more, steroid injections are now approved for kids under 14. It's like, so
gross.
It's like, so that's why, honestly, on the practice side, so we were Vital Performance Chiropractic when we first opened in 2017. And now we are Vital Performance Health and Wellness. One, because I just wanted stereotype out of there. It's like, oh, you got to drive for the profession. And it's like, no, that's your job. Yeah. Like, I'm still doing that. And whether you think I am or not doesn't matter to me. That's not the view of what I have for my practice on myself. Yeah. So it's changing the stereotype. It started with the name, chiropractic hands on the back wall. But overhead, it's like, man, this place is neat. It's like, yeah, wait, this is a chiropractic office? It's like, bingo, gotcha. Yeah. It's like, here's the 2 avenues. Which one you want to pick? They'll pick chiropractic 9 times out of 10. Yeah. So it's like, as far as the athletic training and athletic training, PTs, MDs, this isn't an us versus them thing. It's almost like a lot of other things that are out there. It's like, how much can we get them to fight, claw at each other, look at the shiny bait? And it's like, look, the more we can collaborate together, you're going to see another podcast we're going to have where it's 2 athletic trainers, a chiropractor, and a PT all sitting at this table.
Yeah.
And doing awesome freaking things for student athletes and for parents. And it's like, the more we start to realize that everybody has a perspective that is advantageous for people and not yourself, your pocketbook, your profession, your clout, your being published, the more we start to realize that and put people back first, people are going to get it. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's why she's partner in the Pure Athlete. That's why we have PTs around us. My brother-in-law is marrying a future PT.
Yeah.
It's like, you're about to see a lot of world be disrupted from this little office, this little brand. It will go nationwide. It will go global. That is the goal, because at the end of the day, it's time to serve people better. And we're going to start with this little niche that we are super freaking passionate about to take care of and grow student athletes better. There's so many different perspectives and clinical minds that are brilliant. And the more you can put them together, the better off it's going to be and the more world change you're going to make.
Yeah, well, and for each one of those professions, like, there's things that one is maybe better in than the other. Like, there are things where when we're collaborating, like, he has more knowledge on and he's had more experience in that, and then there's some things that I can stump him on. Like, that's just how it's supposed to work. It's not supposed to be a duel, like
if you
you're
think
saying.
you know everything, you'll never learn anything.
No. And so, like, yes, with that. And then also, like, the stereotype of athletic trainers just being the people who, like, put Band-Aids on things. Like, we are trained to save your life and put a Band-Aid on. Every single, like, gray area in between is covered. And so, like, ATs and personal trainers are different. Like, people with their CSCS are different than athletic trainers. We're in the healthcare industry for a reason.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, look at Damar Hamlin.
Yep.
It was his athletic trainers that saved his life. Like, the athletic trainers are healthcare workers.
Yeah,
Like,
and they
I
are
love that.
so underrated. Like,
There's a few different areas in healthcare that people need to realize. Is there's the diagnostic side, and there is, like, there's diagnostic, there's problem solving, and there's effect.
yeah.
So it's like, for athletic trainers to be like, okay, I got to figure out what this is, diagnose what this is. Can I handle this? Are
Right.
they okay? Do we need to refer? How fast? What do they need? Could you imagine having a surgeon or a neurosurgeon out there playing athletic? They've got neurosurgery on the sideline.
Yeah.
So when somebody gets hurt, they go evaluate them. Their whole perception, like, they've learned so much that the on the field training is they're waiting to, okay, tell me what's wrong, what are we thinking, and I'll figure it out from there. It's like, man, it'd take 45 minutes
Yeah.
before they come up with a diagnosis of what actually needs to happen, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Start working together.
Yeah.
I love that. We have time for one more, and I am going to end it on a fun one.
I
So,
love fun.
This is, I know.
One more.
I
I just
know.
want, let's just close the evening shift and we'll just keep going.
I'm in. Let's
We'll
go.
turn this live.
That's sick. I'm in. Let's go. But this one's fun. So, if you could have anyone, no matter time, money, or influence on
My
this,
wife.
okay,
Oh, sorry.
that was really sweet, but not where I was going with that. On this podcast,
Brownie
who would
points.
it be, and why?
Do you have yours?
Go for it.
Amanda Gaines. She is University of Minnesota's coach. She
Oh,
is
their dance team.
incredible.
Wild.
She is an incredible human. I would kill just to be honestly in a room with her. Not only because University of Minnesota is such a successful program, but her coaching style is what I strive to be. She is the biggest supporter of her girls. Her girls hug her first when they win, but then I know that she gets shit done over there. I mean, look at them. So that's who. If you're hearing this, Amanda Gaines, please.
Is this like just one single one?
It can be more than one. Give me more than one if you have one.
I don't know. I don't know. I got super emotional as soon as I realized what you asked, and I'm like over here trying to hold together. I don't know why.
Got him.
Huh? Yeah. Oh,
Got
I
him.
thought you knew. I mean, it's not going to be a surprise who I'm going to pick, but God, it would just be absolutely incredible knowing what I know now and what I've watched. And I'm hoping to maybe solve for this a little bit, but I would love to have had Kobe on this podcast, because there is the way he spoke, what he spoke about, his come from, his experience, not just on the floor, but I mean to have the lifestyle he had, and to his daughters, his wife, the trials and tribulations when the big whole deal when he was in the league, what had happened, but living in Italy, growing up with his dad playing basketball, but just you go back and listen to the things he spoke on and how he spoke. If I could have had anybody on this podcast, it would be him.
Yeah.
And so I go back and he's on my feed all the time, and I love it. And it's really nothing to do with basketball. Love the game, love watching him play. He's my guy. But we use a lot of his stuff in reels, and I've already mentioned
Yeah.
one on this. It's just like that whole clip of AI's entry in the league was different than mine.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if I can figure it out. Well, that sounds like excuses to me, but the way he put it and how he spoke, it's like I try to emulate that a little bit of that smooth, low tone. There's just something about him that he could cuss you out in his tone of empowerment to you, and you'd never take it any other way.
You'd say thank you.
And you would feel it, like you just knew he was right. But to have the perspective and how he helped people and the things he did and what he was doing before he passed, God, that's a wealth of knowledge that a lot of people missed out on. Like he wasn't even half done yet. But outside of that, I haven't really thought about that. Honestly, I'm not a very starstruck person.
Yeah.
I could go on for a lot of different things. I mean, I think of people as not just people. It's like, oh man, like, yeah, would it be fun to have let's flip this on Travis and Jason right now.
Right.
And that would be fun. But there's fun, there's enlightenment, there's empowerment, there's, tangible things you can do. There's training. There's so many people. I categorize people for that. It's not just like, oh man, let's have Michael Jordan on.
Yeah.
So I haven't really thought about that. I have a hangout list, and I'd love to have Rory McIlroy is one of my dudes. I'd love to have him and that whole crew. You've got Rory, Spieth, Fowler, that whole golf clique. Those guys would be cool to have on. There is, I'm trying to think of female athletes too.
I would have Simone Biles on here in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Talk about mental health and overcoming it.
And even somebody the two soccer players that come into mind. You've got Mia Hamm, which was the original Alex Morgan.
Yeah.
They would be fun to have on here. But then you talk about, okay, well, depending on what we're going after, Phil Jackson, one of the greatest coaches. Phil Jackson, Pat Riley, Coach K, Saban, I'd love, like I said, it's a category for me. It'd be if we're having a podcast on this, who would you pick?
Yeah.
That's ask a better question, get a better answer. But I know, I don't know.
Yeah, I would kill to have Aaron Rodgers on here too, just because one, he's a chiropractor's son.
Yeah.
And two, that is his lifestyle. That's how he heals from everything. He doesn't do anything else.
Gretzky.
Yep.
Gretzky's semi-local here.
Tim Tebow.
He's got a house here. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers' dad's a chiropractor as well, which is super cool. Yeah, I don't know. Really, sky's the limit. Another person though, I think if you narrowed it down today and said you get one, I think it'd probably be Mark Cuban.
I love that.
That's who I would go after.
I love that.
So if you said, no, anybody you would have on this podcast, honestly, I think, and if somebody said, I've got whatever number you need, I would say, let me call Mark. I'd have Mark Cuban on the podcast.
Love.
Sick. Well, that is all I have for you guys today. Yay. That was so fun.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
I love that.
We'll expound.
Yes.
We'll expound on some of these more. But yeah, I'm super excited we did that.
Yeah.
Hope that gives a little bit of relevancy and maybe that'll prod some feedback from those listening. So if you have any other questions, personally or thoughts or things you want us to cover, feel free to list them out. put them in the comments.
Yeah.
DM us. That's fine too.
Yeah, always ask those questions too when we post that too.
Yep. So be on the lookout. We will be dropping merch in 2024. For those of you that are super close to us know what's going to happen with that, but we do want people to know as we start to drop merch, at least 10% of all merch. We're going to do some special edition merch where we'll probably just give most, if not all of it away. But at least 10% of all of our merch ordered through VP, through the Pure Athlete, will go towards mental health resources for student athletes, which is super cool. So be sure to keep out a lookout for that as we cross into the new year of 2024. Other than that, any final thoughts, statements?
No, I mean, as this is coming out, it already has been Christmas, so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays
Yes,
to everyone
absolutely,
listening.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we're on to the new year.
Yeah,
so
we just jumped
let's
into
go.
it. We forgot to wear our hats.
Oh my gosh.
That's okay. It's already passed. Merry jingle balls and deck the halls. If they've been decked, undeck them.
Yeah.
Have a safe and happy new year.
Yeah.
And we will see you on the next Pure Athlete podcast. See ya.